Hello everybody and welcome to this video. Today I want to talk to you about how to plan a revision schedule which will actually motivate you to revise, how to revise for English literature, and some general tips, tricks and good ideas. So on screen you can see my GCSE results certificates, or at least two of them, from when I took my GCSEs 21 years ago. And I just want to encourage you by saying that I was predicted C grades and B grades, and I ended up with 9 A's, a B and a C. And although I was a bright student, I hadn't worked very hard at school, but what I did was I really turned that around in the 2 or 3 months before the exams. And the approach that I took is an approach I still recommend to students today. So this is just obviously my advice, but I think it's a good approach, and I'd love you to watch this video and see if you agree, see if you think this would work for you. So the first thing to do is to write a list of all of the subjects you need to revise for, from top to bottom, with your favourite subjects at the top, working your way down to your least favourite at the bottom. So what you can see here is I loved English literature, I loved history, I really hated French, I hated maths, and the favourites are at the top, the least favourite at the bottom. Now, I've made a video a bit like this before, and some people have come back and said, well, what if I hate all subjects, or what if I don't have any preference? In that case, you might write this list in rank order of the subjects that you're doing best at school, your best grades to your worst grades. And then what you do is you put them in pairs. So you take your favourite and you pair it up with your least favourite. And you come up with pairs of subjects a bit like this: French and English literature, maths and history, geography, English language. If I said to you, okay, today I want you to do a couple of hours of revision, if you didn't have a plan, what you'd probably end up doing is revising subjects that you like, subjects that you enjoy, subjects that you're good at, and perhaps a little bit of something that you're not good at. But if you pair subjects up like this, well, you revise French first. You put the hard subject or the least favourite subject first, and you revise for whatever period of time, perhaps an hour, and you say to yourself throughout that hour, I have something to look forward to after this because I'm going to revise my favourite subject. The next day you might start with maths while you're fresh and alert and really focused, and it might be hard going because you don't particularly like maths, but when you've struggled through that hour, then you're going to reward yourself with an hour studying history. And this really is a great way to make sure that you cover all of your subjects and not just the ones that you want to cover, and that you have something each day to look forward to. When I was studying for my own exams, this is what I did. For 2 months before the exams, I revised 3 hours Monday to Friday and 5 hours on a Saturday, and took Sunday off. And when I tell people about that, some people think, wow, I could never do that. So I'm not saying you have to do that, but I am saying that there's a lot of stuff you're going to need to revise, and you do need to put some serious hours of revision in. Of course, you don't want to burn out, so there's no point in putting too many hours in and getting sick or overwhelming yourself, and you do need to manage yourself and manage your timing. If you need a break, if you feel you're getting burnt out, stop, have a break, a short break or a longer break. That's also the sort of stuff that you can manage yourself. But you do need to put in those serious hours, and for me, 2 months of very serious revision was enough to get those amazing grades. Now you might be sat there thinking, well, I'm way behind, I've not been studying at all, so I need to start a bit more serious now. There's no actual set in stone approach. I'm just telling you what I did 21 years ago and how you might follow a similar approach. Well, of course, I'm an English teacher, so I can only talk about English language and literature, and I want to spend the rest of this video going through English literature revision techniques. Let's look at the different sections of literature. Now, what you need to do is you need to be very honest with yourself and take a true account of how well you're doing in your studies. So break down, for example, the 5 areas of the English literature exams. So you might say, yep, Macbeth, I really know it, I understand it, we've studied all of it, but Jekyll and Hyde, well, I missed some lessons there, or I'm still not sure about this, and Inspector Calls, Power and Conflict, Unseen Poetry, and you can use that to prioritise where your areas of study need to focus, and that will be different for different students. Now, of course, a lot of us would need to work on the Power and Conflict poetry because there are 15 poems. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I would revise for the Power and Conflict poems. Obviously, it's using the resources that I've made, and You might think, well, you're just promoting your resources, but I've made these resources because I think they'll help you. But you don't need to use my resources. You can revise in any way you see fit. So if I was studying for the Power and Conflict, the first thing I would do is I would watch a video analysis of one of the poems, perhaps Exposure, as you see here, and I would add to the notes in my anthology anything that I didn't already know or anything that I think is particularly important or useful. Of course, I say add to because this is revising, revisiting. You should know these texts and just be adding to and recapping and restudying the areas that you need to look at. Then I would print out a blank copy of the poem. You can Google the poem and print one out, and I would see how much I can annotate on that blank copy. Then looking back at your anthology and seeing the bits you've forgotten, and then perhaps annotating those onto this copy and highlighting them so you know for next time, these are the things I forgot last time, let me start by looking back at those. You might do that 2 times over 2 English revision hours, and then you might think I'll try and compare those 2 poems, have a go at a sample question comparing the 2 poems, and perhaps look at one of my student exemplars in the student exemplar playlist and see how your work compares to the student's work and the feedback if it applies to you and what you're doing. It's also worth me saying at this point, for those of you who want to take your revision to the next level, you can set up an account at tuitionkit.com and create a learning schedule where it actually sets out, you import or tell it all the videos you want to watch and when, and then it creates this schedule for you. Absolutely fantastic. That is a paid service, but you can get 20% off at tuitionkit.com if you go to tuitionkit.com/Bruff sent me.